My family told me to postpone my wedding, for my sister's feelings, turning my joy into a battleground. Hi, my name is Lorraine. I am 33 years old, and I live in Austin, Texas. After nearly 8 years together, my boyfriend Mikkel, who's 34, got down on one knee and proposed on a warm fall afternoon right in our tiny kitchen. He didn't say much, just simply, "I want dinners with you for the rest of my life." And, without hesitation, I said yes. Mitchell isn't flashy. He's genuine, kind, and always knows how to make me feel safe, no matter how chaotic the world gets. We've been through it all. Moving, job losses, losing loved ones. But I never imagined the biggest challenge would come from my own family. It might sound unbelievable, but from the moment I announced our engagement, my mother and my half-sister, Ava, turned what should have been the happiest time of my life into a bitter spectacle. Ava is 28 now, 5 years younger than me. But I've known since we were kids that there was never such a thing as sisterhood between us. My mom remarried when I was 6. Ava is her daughter with her new husband, whose charm masked a cold disinterest in my life. We lived in the same house for almost 20 years, but between me and Ava, there was always an invisible wall. Built from my mom's blatant favoritism and Ava's constant jealousy. Since elementary school, Ava couldn't stand it when I was praised for being smart or well-behaved. She once ripped up my test paper because the teacher put a gold star on it. As we got older, the jealousy only got more subtle, but never went away. I got a scholarship to a state university. Ava dropped out of a junior college program to become a part-time content creator, always chasing validation through likes and shares. I never thought getting engaged would be the last straw for Ava, but it was. Just hours after I posted a picture of the ring on Instagram, my mother called. Not to congratulate me, not to ask about the date. Her voice was serious, like I'd done something terribly wrong. "Ava's going to be really upset. She just broke up with Evan last week. You shouldn't be sharing this." I stood frozen in the kitchen. Sharing my joy wasn't a crime, yet I felt accused. I was just sharing a happy moment after 7 years of waiting. But I said nothing. I didn't push back. I was used to making room for Ava, whether that meant attention, emotion, or now, even my future. A few weeks later, Ava posted a vague status about maybe getting engaged. Her new boyfriend, a guy named Noah, who none of us had met, had moved in with her after less than a month. I didn't comment. I knew better. But 4 months later, they got married and it fell apart just 8 weeks in. I didn't feel glad when I heard Noah had cheated on her with her best friend. I genuinely felt bad. Even though Ava never saw me as her sister, I still carried a fleeting hope for her happiness. But what I didn't expect was that after her rushed divorce, Ava and my mother quietly started blaming me. And worse, they weren't going to stop at blame. I thought maybe things would calm down after Ava's divorce. I kept moving forward with wedding planning, choosing flowers, trying on dresses, finalizing the menu. Our wedding date was set for early April, just 3 months away, but I was wrong. One Monday evening while I was at Michelle's house, I got a call from my mom. Her voice was strangely soft, dripping with false concern. "Are you free, honey? I need to talk to you for a minute." I stepped out to the balcony. I needed space to brace for her words. After a few pleasantries, she got straight to the point. "Lauren, I've been thinking a lot, and I feel like you should reconsider the wedding in April." I narrowed my eyes. Reconsider what exactly? Ava is still hurting. She hasn't been able to sleep through the night since the court hearing. If you go through with a big event like this, I'm afraid it'll break her even more. I clenched my phone. "You're saying I should cancel my wedding?" She sighed, drawn out as if my love was a burden to her. "Not cancel entirely, but maybe keep it simple, more private, a small ceremony in a church with just close family. No need for a fancy venue, live music, or imported wine." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'd spent almost a year planning this day, dozens of emails, hundreds of tiny decisions, And now my mother, the same woman who once said, "I'll support whatever you choose," was asking me to downsize the most important day of my life because of Ava. I spoke slowly, carefully, as if holding back a tide. We've already paid deposits for the flowers, the cake, the venue, the band. None of it is refundable. I can't just reduce it to a small church event now. My mom didn't flinch. Her tone sharpened as if I were the one being unreasonable. Money can be replaced, Lauren, but family love. You can't buy that back. Do you know Ava cries every time she sees a wedding dress or a save the date? As her sister, you should understand and avoid pouring salt on her wounds. I was speechless. For the first time in my life, it hit me. My mother didn't see my wedding as a celebration. She saw it as a threat to Ava's emotional stability. And if she had to choose, she would choose Ava. I couldn't hold it in anymore. So what do you want me to do? Apologize because I'm in love and loved back? Wait for Ava to feel better before I'm allowed to be happy? My mother went silent for a beat, then responded coolly. If you truly love this family, you'll know what you need to do. The call ended. Stinging like a wound, I called it a name. Michael stepped out to the balcony, saw my pale face, and gently asked what happened. I replied quietly, "My mom wants me to postpone the wedding." He didn't ask for more. He just squeezed my hand and said, "This is our wedding. No one else gets to turn it into something it's not." I nodded. Their demands felt like chains, but Mitchell's words were my anchor. And my mom, she wasn't the kind to stop after just one call. I thought my mom would go quiet after that phone call, but just 3 days later, Ava started texting me non-stop, relentless and manipulative, like a string of emotional bait. "Hope you're enjoying your wedding plans." Some of us are just trying to crawl out of the wreckage. A few hours later, some wounds don't heal just because someone pretends to be happy in front of them. I stayed silent, but the more silent I stayed, the more she escalated. The next message wasn't subtle anymore. "You've always been the one everyone loves praises. And me? People only remember me when I fall apart. You must enjoy that." I handed the phone to Michael. He looked at me, his eyes narrowing with shared frustration. "She's trying to make you the villain in her own life story. I knew that. But what I didn't expect was Ava didn't stop at just texting. One Thursday afternoon, right after Michael got home from work, he received a call from an unknown number. He didn't answer. The caller rang 3 times. Finally, he picked up and stood frozen in the kitchen for almost 4 minutes. When he hung up, his silence spoke of their audacity. "It was your mom." I turned sharply. "She called you? What for?" Michael sighed. "She said she wanted to talk about Ava. She told me you were being stubborn and that if I were a thoughtful man, I'd convince you to have a simpler, private wedding." She added, "Real men don't need to show off." I stood still. The feeling of having my own mother call my fiancé behind my back as if I were some disobedient teenager fueled a fire I couldn't quell. I'm not 20 anymore, secreting my dreams to soothe Ava's envy. I've grown up, and she doesn't get to control this. Michael placed a hand gently on my shoulder. "We're not changing anything, but I think you should brace yourself for whatever's next." 4 days later, my cousin Ela called. "You need to hear this. Ava's been telling people that you purposely chose April to hurt her." I froze. "What?" "The wedding date was set last year." "I know, but she's saying you timed it exactly 5 months after her divorce to throw a lavish party. That you're fully aware how emotionally fragile people are after a breakup and still chose to rub it in." I sank into the couch. Her lies twisted my love into a weapon. Think she needs someone to blame. And you're a convenient target. I knew Ella wasn't making this up, and I also knew Ava well enough to believe she'd craft a distorted story and convince herself it was real. Worse yet, some people started buying it. My aunt, my mom's younger sister, called and gently asked if I could postpone the wedding to fall so things could settle. A college friend messaged saying, "Even a small celebration doesn't take away the meaning of love," and an old coworker of my mom's left a comment under my wedding dress fitting photo, "Hope everyone heals before someone else throws salt on the wound." No one asked if I was okay being quietly ostracized by my own mother and sister. No one asked if it hurt to have my wedding labeled cruel. I had become the symbol of everything Ave didn't have, and my mother, as always, chose to stand with her. That night, I sat in the living room, wedding invitations scattered across the coffee table. Michael walked over, picked one up, and looked at me. "I know this is hard, but maybe it's time you drew a line." At Easter, I had hoped for peace, just for one night. The family dinner was at my Aunt Martha's house, just outside Houston, where we all usually gathered for the holidays. Mikhail and I arrived early carrying wine and homemade gingerbread cookies. I knew my mom and Ava would be there, but I hoped foolishly that the holiday spirit would calm them. I was wrong. The moment we stepped in, Ava wouldn't even look at me. My mom gave Mikhail a half-hearted hug and quickly turned to chat with some great aunt. I took a deep breath. "It's fine. Just stay respectful," I reminded myself. Things were going smoothly until I was in the kitchen chatting with some cousins about cake flavors. I had just mentioned lemon mousse when Ava suddenly stood up, shoved her chair back, and said in a trembling voice loud enough for the whole room, "You know what, Lauren? Some of us are struggling to breathe every day while you ramble on about your wedding like it's your personal movie premiere." Silence gripped the room, her words a public indictment. I turned slowly, keeping my tone calm. I didn't mean anything by it, I was just answering their question. Ava stepped right into the center of the living room, staging her pain for all to see. "You've taken everything from me. The attention, the love, and now even the ability to feel safe in a room full of people. Every word you say cuts deeper, Lauren." "But you don't care, do you?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mom rushed over to wrap Ava in her arms, shielding her as if I were the threat. Then she turned to me with a look of disappointment. "Do you really need to flaunt everything? I told you Ava isn't okay. Why can't you tone things down a little?" I stood there in silence. Then slowly I placed my wine glass on the table. "I've been quiet long enough." I turned to face Ava, looked her straight in the eyes. "You're hurting, then hurt with dignity. Don't drag an entire room into your meltdown. You chose the wrong man. You chose to get married after 3 months. You chose to post wedding photos every day like a personal PR campaign, and now you choose to blame me for all of it." Ava turned pale, but I wasn't done. "And Mom," I turned to my mother, my voice starting to shake with anger, "this isn't empathy anymore. This is enabling. It's blind favoritism. It's staying silent when one person attacks another. And now joining in." The room held its breath, my truth echoing. I took a deep breath and said clearly, firmly, "You and Ava are no longer invited to my wedding." My mother shot up from her seat. "What did you just say?" "I've had enough. I don't want people at the most important day of my life who are secretly hoping it falls apart. I'm not getting married to prove anything to Ava. I'm marrying Michael because I love him, and I don't need your permission to be happy." Mikhail stood beside me, quietly took my hand, and we walked out into the cold night with a resolve that set me free. That evening, I wrote a short email. I sent it to my mom and Ava. The subject line was simple: wedding update. Body of the email: "Based on everything that has happened and how the two of you have behaved throughout this process, I regret to inform you that you will not be on the guest list for my wedding. This is not a spur-of-the-moment decision. This is a necessary boundary to protect myself and the life I'm building." I hit send. No tears, no hesitation. This time, it was me I chose. Less than 18 hours after I sent the email, I received my first response. A long, drawn-out email from my mom. Subject line, "You're tearing this family apart." She wrote, "Lauren, I truly can't believe how cold you've become. I raised you with nothing but love, and now over a simple misunderstanding, you've cast me out of the most important day of your life. Ava has been through a major shock. If you can't show compassion, the least you could offer is kindness. Do you even care that she cried all night, or is that no longer important to you? Seems like you've chosen romance over blood." Reading each line felt like being pricked by 1,000 tiny needles. Not one word acknowledged what I'd endured. Not one sentence admitted how Ava had slandered me. It was all about my sister's feelings. And somehow, I was still to blame. Before I could even exhale, a second email came in, this one from Ava. Just 3 furious lines. "You're petty. You used your wedding to exclude me, to humiliate me one final time. I hope you enjoy your victory. But don't forget, family never forgets betrayal." I let out a small laugh, feeling the weight of their blame slip away. They called me the betrayer when I'd been cornered for months. The next 5 days were a flood of calls, texts, and vague social media posts from people who had previously claimed to be neutral. My Uncle Charles called, voice harsh. "Couldn't you have handled this more gently? This is family. You've made your mother cry." A cousin I hadn't spoken to in over 4 years messaged, "I heard Lauren didn't invite her own mom to her wedding. That's just wrong. No matter what she's done, she's still your mother." I let the silence speak, not because I had nothing to say, but because I'd already said more than enough. Clearly, they were only hearing what they wanted to hear from Ava and my mom. Luckily, not everyone turned their back on me. That afternoon, while I was reorganizing the wedding invitation table and wondering if I'd gone too far, my phone rang. It was Aunt Sine, my dad's younger sister. I wasn't sure if she'd heard what happened, but the moment I picked up, she spoke first. "You finally did the right thing. I know how much you've endured, Lauren. Your courage has shown us all the truth. You stood up. I couldn't hold back the tears." That same evening, Chloe, my closest cousin since high school, also called. Her voice was calm but firm. "Lauren, you did the right thing. I've watched Ava play the victim for years. Her mask is finally slipping thanks to you." And like a quiet ripple, support began to surface from the most unexpected places. An old friend of my dad's messaged, "I'd be proud to see you standing up for your happiness like this." A distant aunt from another state sent a handwritten note with a wedding card. "Real family is made up of those who respect you." Even though the cruel words from my mom and Ava kept coming, I stayed silent. I didn't defend myself. I didn't explain. That night, Michael and I sat together hand in hand, looking over the new guest list. Smaller, warmer, and finally, it felt like this wedding was truly mine. I had assumed that after being removed from the guest list, Ava would at least keep her distance, but once again, I gave her too much credit. About a week after the dramatic Easter dinner, Michael and I were in the living room reviewing our wedding vendor checklist. I had just stepped out to make tea when his phone rang. When I came back, he was holding the phone, face tense. "Who is it?" I asked, setting down my cup. Michael handed me the phone. The screen showed a string of texts from Ava. "I know I probably shouldn't bother you, but I really need someone to talk to. I don't understand why Lauren is being so cold. I feel like the whole family has turned against me. You're the only one I feel like I can talk to without judgment." Her words were a calculated ploy to undermine me. Mitchell tilted his head toward me. "Are you okay?" I didn't answer. I just held out my hand. "Let me see all the messages." He opened the full thread. Ava hadn't just sent one message out of weakness. She had been texting him every day, sometimes early in the morning, sometimes nearly at midnight, always filled with emotional manipulation and subtle undertones. One message even read, "Have you ever wondered if things had gone differently? Maybe you and I could have been something?" She crossed a line, aiming to steal my future. Mikhail's tone hardened. I never responded. I knew something was off from the very first message, but I thought you should see this. I took a deep breath, my anger now a sharp-ache clarity. Not from jealousy, but from sheer disrespect. Ava wasn't just trying to tarnish my reputation anymore, she was now trying to hijack my relationship, my life out of envy. Pick screenshots of everything for me, I said, my voice steady with newfound strength. Michael nodded. Within minutes, the entire conversation was saved to my phone. I didn't text Avila, I didn't call my mom. I was far too familiar with their strike first, play innocent later routine. Instead, I sent a short email to the close relatives who had seen everything from the beginning and still chose to stand by the truth. Subject: I need to clarify something. Body. I've tried to remain silent to avoid further conflict, but this has gone too far. Attached are screenshots from Mikkel's phone, messages Ava has sent him recently. I'm not sharing this for drama. I'm sharing this so everyone understands why I've had to draw a line. This is no longer about hurt feelings. This is about intentional manipulation, division, and the complete disregard for someone else's dignity. Please read and reflect. I'm not asking for anyone to take sides. I just don't want to be misrepresented anymore. I wasn't expecting much beyond silence, but to my surprise, the response was stronger than I imagined. Chloe called me less than 40 minutes after I sent the email. Lauren, this is insane. What was she thinking sending those kinds of texts to your fiancé? Aunt Gianni sent me a simple email. Just one sentence. You've handled this with more grace than anyone else would have. I fully support you. Another relative who had stayed silent the entire time finally texted me. I never thought Ave was this bad. It's all clear now. As for my mom, take a guess. A missed call just before 2 a.m. Then a short text. You've gone too far shaming your own sister like that. No matter what she did, you shouldn't expose her to the whole family. I read it, deleted it, and left it at that, because I knew in my mother's eyes, Ava could stab me in the back, and if I screamed, I'd still be the one who overreacted. Our wedding day fell on an early April afternoon. The sun was gentle, the breeze crisp, just enough to tint my cheeks pink without needing blush. The garden behind the resort in the South Carolina Lowcountry was draped in lavender and strings of light strung across the old oak trees. Everything was exactly as we planned. Exactly as I had imagined throughout our 8 years together. I had just finished my makeup when Isabel, my maid of honor and best friend, stepped into the room with a worried look on her face. Lauren, we've got a problem. Don't tell me the cake collapsed, I said, half hoping it was something simple. Isabel swallowed hard, then said, Worse, Ava and your mom. They're at the gate. My heart sank, their audacity unrelenting. What are they doing here? They're arguing with security. Your mom is crying and Ava, she's yelling that she's being thrown out of the family. Their drama threatened. My joy. I closed my eyes for a few seconds, then opened them, my voice frighteningly calm. Get the venue manager. Tell them to keep them at the gate. If needed, call a car service and have them taken away. Isabel nodded and rushed out. I stood still, my resolve hardening like steel. Not long after, my phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. I wasn't going to answer, but then I did. On the other end, my mom's voice trembled with anger. Are you really going to hold your wedding and toss your mother and sister out like garbage? I took a deep breath. You chose Ava's side, even when she harassed my fiancé. You don't have the right to ask me that. You'll regret this, Lauren. Marriage isn't just dresses and flowers. One day you'll need your mother, but I may not be there anymore. I ended the call without a word, then placed the phone on the table, sealing my freedom from their control. The ceremony began at 6 p.m. Mikkel waited under the floral arch, his eyes both nervous and warm. Our closest guests sat nearby, their smiles clear and genuine. People who stood by us, not out of duty, but love. As the music played and I walked down the aisle, my steps carried the weight of my victory. There was no noise, no sign of Ava or my mother. I later learned Isabel had handled it firmly. When they begged to be let in because we're family, security refused. And when they wouldn't stop causing a scene, the venue arranged for a private car to escort them off the property. Their exit marked the end of their hold on me. The ceremony went perfectly, every detail intact. Michael's vows nearly made me choke up. Lauren, you're not just my love. You're the one who taught me that peace isn't something we find, it's something we choose. And today, I choose to be by your side, always. Everyone stood and applauded, and it felt like all the heaviness of the past few months dissolved into the music. After the ceremony, as I chatted with guests, Aunt Diana came up and held my hand. You've done what no one in this family had the courage to do in 22 years. You broke the cycle of silence and endurance. I smiled, my heart full, no longer bound by their expectations. The people who mattered understood. That night, under the glow of string lights, Mikiel leaned in and whispered, I know how strong you had to be today, but from now on, you don't have to do it alone. I rested my head on his shoulder, embracing the peace I'd fought for. My mom may never accept me. Ava may stay stuck in her loop of jealousy and blame, but I had stepped out of it, and I knew I was never going back. Michael and I returned home after a short honeymoon in Asheville. The storm had passed. I no longer checked my phone constantly. I stopped waiting for an apology from my mom or a gesture from Ava. I knew they'd never do it, and I didn't need them to. Less than a week later, I got a call from my cousin, Choli. Ava and Aunt Mary just had a massive fight, and this time she lost it. What happened? Ava moved back in after crashing the wedding failed, and ever since she's been sulking at home, spreading her bitterness like a shadow. I hadn't followed Ava on social media since the wedding. I blocked all her accounts, but hearing Chalawi, I sensed the familiar echo of her resentment. So, what triggered the fight? I asked. Chalawi lowered her voice. Ava started blaming Aunt Mary. She said if her mom had stood her ground and kept her on the guest list, things would have turned out differently. Then she accused her of being a failure who didn't protect the daughter who needed her most. I closed my eyes. Her words were a mirror of her endless victimhood. Always the victim of her own story. Always betrayed, forgotten, wounded. Never once reflecting inward, Chali exhaled. Aunt Mary exploded. She yelled, I sacrificed everything for you, covered for you countless times, and now you blame me. Then what happened? She kicked her out that night, called an Uber, told her, live however you want, just don't come back. I sat in silence for a few seconds. Ava did what she always does, blame. But this time my mom had no one else to shift the blame to. With me out of the way, she had to face the truth. The daughter she spoiled turned on her. Where's Ava now? I asked. Heard she's crashing at a friend's place, but who knows? You know Ava. She'll weave a new tale to dodge her truth. I nodded, said nothing more. That night, I opened my phone, deleted every old message thread with my mom and Ava. Then I went into my settings and blocked every last bit of contact, email, phone numbers, severing the last threads of their influence. Michael walked out from the kitchen, wrapped his arms around me from behind. He didn't ask anything. He just rested his chin on my shoulder. I leaned into him and whispered, I'm okay now. We didn't have a fancy dinner, no candles, just 2 bowls of warm mushroom soup and a jazz playlist humming from the corner speaker in a dark room. And I thought, maybe this is what's worth keeping. Not the applause, not the validation from distant relatives, but peace in my heart and the steady hand that never let go. My family had been broken for a long time. Now they just couldn't pull me under with them anymore. And me? I'd finally chosen the family I belonged to. Lauren's story is a powerful reminder that not every blood tie is worth preserving. When sacrifice becomes expected, and love is used to manipulate, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential to protect your worth. Lauren didn't just choose happiness, she chose peace, truth, and a family built on mutual respect. In real life, the bravest choice isn't enduring. It's knowing when to let go. What do you think about Lauren's decision and how her family fell apart? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to follow this channel for more heartfelt, honest, and eye-opening stories about the hidden struggles behind family.